Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this week's Stay Connected webinar. We're really excited to present this week's topic, Tails and Tales. Very clever name. Jennifer Hansen and Jackie Steffen with Nebraska Extension have developed a really intriguing, wonderful program that reinforces reading skills along with growing that interest in STEM and those STEM skills as well. So thank you so much for leading this webinar today, and thanks to those of you joining us. We, on behalf of our Get Connected After School Conference committee, we all want to thank you for participating in these webinars that allow us to stay connected in between conferences. Remember that you can always go back and view recorded Stay Connected webinars. I bet Sandra is going to be really quick to put the link in the chat for us. We do have them archived by category, so you can take a look at what's there and find some interesting webinars that you're able to either view yourself if you missed the webinar or share with your staff through a professional development opportunity. You can also get credit, so go to that Stay Connected site and submit a request for a certificate, and we'll get that issued to you. That happens about once a month. So I am going to mute myself and let Jennifer and Jackie take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kim, and welcome everyone. We are very excited to be a part of the Stay Connected series. So my name is Jackie Steffen, and I'm a Learning Child Extension educator located in Cedar County, and I cover a variety of counties up in Northeast Nebraska. And I'm joined here today with Jennifer Hansen, and I'm going to let her take just a brief moment to introduce herself.
Perfect. As Jackie said, I'm Jennifer Hansen. I'm an extension educator in 4-H and youth development based in Thurston County, but also serving Burke County as well as any statewide responsibilities that come my way.
Thanks, Jennifer. So we're really excited to tell you all about this year's Nebraska 4-H STEM Reading Connections program. This was a program that actually was developed back in 2014. And so every year we have a new theme, and this year is Tails and Tales. And so we're really excited to share our programming that goes with that theme. And please know that this is a statewide, actually a nationwide theme that's in collaboration with the Collaborative Summer Reading Program. So before we move forward much farther, I would love to hear from you either in the chat box or you can unmute yourself. How many of you are familiar with the 4-H STEM Reading Connection program or the summer reading program that takes place at local libraries? All right. So I'm seeing a few heads and I see one in the chat box as well, that there are a couple who are familiar with it and love it. So we're excited to know that you love it, and we think we have some great resources to share with you today. So before we move forward, I want to introduce you to our authors and our team. So as you can see, we are a team of 10 dedicated individuals, and we are spread out across the state, and we all have different areas of expertise or focus. Tiffany focuses on STEM. I look at Anne, she's food and nutrition. Myself and Sarah Roberts, we focus in early childhood. Jennifer and Jen Epp, they also focus in 4-H youth development and have some careers focus as well. So as you look at that team, there's probably some faces that you recognize. So if you want to give them a shout out in the chat box, feel free to type their names of the educators that you're familiar with. But it does take a large team to collaborate together to put together our program. So as we move on, Jennifer is going to tell you more about kind of our goal and how the program aligns this year.
Thanks, Jackie. So the 4-H STEM Reading Connections program's goal is to engage youth in extended 4-H learning opportunities through the Collaborative Summer Library Program. So basically, we are partnering with the local libraries across the state. Next slide, Jackie. Thank you. Our program goals are to provide 4-H youth development opportunities to all youth, offer educational resources to librarians, school development professionals, early childhood professionals, parents, after school staff. Of course, spark an interest in 4-H programs and provide early childhood professionals and parents with STEM imagination guides to support literacy development and enhance relationships and to make the connection with their local libraries. So this year, the National Summer Reading theme is Tale and Tales. So we developed lessons or found lessons in 4-H curriculum that were around animal adaptations, heads and tails, your money story, service animal, and farm tales. And now we're going to kind of give you kind of a very quick overview of what that lesson might entail.
Jennifer, do you want to tell them a little bit about the format of the lessons or how many there is, how that works?
Okay, so there are 4 lessons, one on each of these topics. Each lesson is going to have a book suggestion that goes with it, as well as a fable that relates to the topic. And then there's going to be a variety of activities. And the thing we love about our lessons is that they are customizable. We know in after school that kids are coming and going. Some after schools, you guys are based on grade levels, and others it's K-6 situations. So these lessons are adaptable. There is a lower elementary portion of the lesson. There's an upper elementary portion. And in my experience, you can mix and match those depending on your audience. And when Jackie starts talking later about those reading imagination guides, there's components you may be able to pull in even in your K-6 after school program. You could probably also use these with junior high and high school if need be. So that's kind of the format. You can customize them. There's different components to each lesson. Normally at least 2 to 3 activities. And so you can use them however best works in your situation. So our first one is about adaptations that animals make. And we'll go to the next slide. So in this lesson, we're going to talk about what makes a camouflage pattern effective. If you want to type in the chat or shout it out, feel free. But you're going to ask students that opening question. And then there's animal coloration cards that will be available for, we're going to give you a link and you can download all of the resources in one place, in one document, with the exception of what Jackie will talk about later, but those are easy to download as well. So you'll have these animal coloration cards that have different camouflage patterns. And they're going to choose the example that they really like. So this is the example that Cam chose when she put the slide together. And then they're going to choose examine their chosen animal's coloration and habitat and write down what they notice about the animal's coloration and how it helps blend in with its environment. So for those of you that maybe didn't notice, there's an owl right here in the middle of the screen. His eyes are really the distinctive thing. I remember the first time I saw this, I was like, what is it? Oh, it's an owl. It took me a second and I'm an adult. So if the kids don't get it right away, or they might get it faster because they're more used to that. You may have to prompt the students to think about formal elements of camouflage. So shape, pattern, and color. Cam's real passion lied in adding the A to STEM to make it STEAM when it came to art. So this lesson is very heavy with art elements, which is awesome because sometimes art is the thing that gets left out in our schools. So it's pretty cool that we get to bring that into this activity. Next slide, Jackie, please. So another part of this lesson is the students are going to make a swatch, like a small example, like an example is like a small piece of fabric, but they're going to actually make it out of colored origami paper by picking the background color and 3 additional colors from which they cut out shapes to apply their background. You can also use construction paper, copy paper, whatever's available, right? Origami paper tends to be a little more fun if you can get your hands on that. That's why that's our recommendation. You're going to have a student choose the environment that they like from those habitat background cards. So this student chose a coral reef. That's what they liked. And they're going to design their camouflage fabric out of the paper that you would wear in this environment. And these are some of the examples that the students came up with when Cam taught this. So this big piece here in the middle is the actual environment. And then these pieces around it are the ones that the students made. Now, some of them kept it very square. I love the students' creativity because that totally fits in. And because it's not square, you're like, oh yeah, that fits right in there. So it's kind of cool to see what they're going to come up with when they do this lesson. And they have a lot of fun doing this as part of this lesson. Next slide, Jackie, please. Okay, so you've kind of seen the layout of the lesson very, very briefly. And now we're going to go to the next one, which is Tales from Animal Tales. And with this lesson, we talked about farm animals and how they use their tails. We talked about dogs, cats, cows, horses, that type of thing. One thing that we do acknowledge this lesson is missing is maybe pictures demonstrating how animals use their tails, but that's a quick Google search for images. When you talk about if a cat's tail is, or if a dog's tail is like straight out, what does that mean? When we did this to pilot this lesson, two of these kiddos are mine, the other one's belong with my office manager here. We talked about our dog at home. What does it mean when her tail does this? What does it mean when your cow's tail does that? Like personal examples. If your facility has a service animal, this would be an or like one of those, not a service animal, that's right, but like the companion animals that may come to visit sites. You can talk about when they're wagging their tail, what does that mean? And it's kind of fun. Then we make all of our lessons this year, make a social emotional connection from a fable. And it works really well to talk about how everyone has differences that make them unique and special. When we talk about tails, then they can make a parachute, or they can make like wearable technology for cows, which a couple of the kids in ours got very excited about this. There's an activity with painting using a horsehair paintbrush, and let the students talk about their pets at home because we all know kids love to talk about their pets. I can see a lot of extensions for this activity using examples from our pets at home. So that's another way that we can do this, but this is a fun activity. They had a blast with the parachutes. They're trying to keep their egg safe. It's like an egg drop activity, is what we used in here. And none of their eggs broke and they were very disappointed that day, but that was the goal, to keep them safe. So next slide, please. At your service, this lesson is about service animals, which if your facility has a service animal, this is a great opportunity to partner and bring them in. And in this lesson, you are going to focus on service animals. There's a physical, each lesson, I should also say, has a physical activity component to get the wiggles out, because we all know if they've been sitting all day, they tend to be a little rambunctious in after school, right? Like keeping them still is never an easy task. So the physical activity is going to allow the youth to see from another perspective. We'll do some role-playing type things. The story connects youth to a real pairing of a service animal and a human. The activities combine creative and critical thinking, and overall it encourages the youth to emphasize with challenges others may face and find tailored solutions. And this is a fun activity as well. Your heads and tails, it's all about money, because when I think heads and tails, I teach a lot about careers. And so heads and tails when it comes to money is where we took this portion of the lesson. And in here, we're going to focus on money and personal finance. Now, you might be going, but I have kindergartners. My daughter that participated was in kindergarten. Our oldest was a sixth grader. So we had a good demographic here and a couple in between. We cover the overview of money values. With kindergartners, depending on the time of year, it may or may not work well. But at the beginning of the school year, they probably haven't covered that. When we piloted this late January, early February, my kindergartner was just learning about money values. So it really was one of those reinforcing activities for what she was learning in the classroom. The activities focus on how everyone's needs and wants are different, and that we need to respect and emphasize why that might be from their perspective. We introduced them to budgeting and managing money with their own piggy banks with very simple supplies for that. Next slide. Money identification, as I kind of talked about. And the other thing is we give you a list of needs and wants. And some will say that rent and food are needs. Some will tell you an Xbox is a need. Just keep the conversation very open and understanding. Like one of the examples we give is our glasses and needs are a want. For me, they're a need. Without them, I cannot see. Like that's just the truth of the matter. Now, I have a friend that likes glasses as a fashion statement. So for her, it's a want. So you can use things like that. They're on that list. I know there's also things about like 3 meals a day. Is that a need or a want? And so you can kind of talk about that and you'll know your audience. And so pick the questions that fit best. But like that 3 meals a day, a lot of kids are like, well, no, that's a need. And I'm like, well, food is a need, but having 3 meals a day is really a want because there's a lot of people in our country, our world that don't have access to 3 meals a day, but food is a need. So you can kind of take it in the direction that you need to with your students, but just be open to that difference of opinions that youth will have. Okay, and then we also have 2 workshops that are available in your download, which Jackie has stated in the chat is free for those of you that are worried about cost. The downloads are free. And we'll just kind of give you a very brief overview of these so we can get to the next part. There are 2 customizable workshops. One is about conservation and wildlife, and you make animal tracks and do things. The other one is a more of a human development component, and they make building blocks with like using Duplo blocks. I can't talk, guys. But these were written more for our traditional 4-H audience, but I definitely could see avenues to use this in an after-school setting. It'll really just depend what you need in your site. And with that, I do believe I'm turning this over to Jackie now. Is that correct? Is that the next slide is yours? I got one more.
It's me. Thank you, Jennifer. And so with the 4-H STEM Reading Connections program, it's really like an umbrella. So what Jennifer just did was she talked about the lessons that are traditionally for our kindergarten through 6th grade youth. What I'm going to talk about next is our imagination guides, and that's a second part of our umbrella. And these are primarily for the early childhood audience. So last year, we piloted this program with parents and with child care providers because what we realized from 2014 is there was a big audience of children that was missing out on these opportunities. Maybe they weren't able to go to their library or to their extension office or weren't enrolled in an after-school program that was utilizing this curriculum. And so we decided to bring the program to them ultimately, because if you go to libraries across the state during the summer, you will walk in and you'll definitely be able to feel what the theme is. So this year is Tales of Tales. So every library across the state, you're going to feel that when you walk in. A couple of years ago, it was a universe of stories. So it was a space theme. So our goal is for all youth to be able to participate in some form. And then when they are able to walk into the library, they feel that connection. So last year's STEM imagination guides, when we piloted them, were based on fairy tales. And I'll show you those here in just a moment. But last year's theme was Imagine Your Story. So since they were very successful, we're bringing them back again this year. And we've created 8 imagination guides that go with the Tales of Tales theme. And so what I'm going to do now is take you out to our website. And I'll let Jennifer put our website in the chat box for you. But what the imagination guides are for is we're here to help you deliver or help you develop children and youth love for STEM through imagination guides and through reading. So each of the imagination guides are going to have conversation starters, a STEM connection activity. They're going to have related readings that fit with the selected story. And then they're also going to have story extensions. So a sensory activity, a music and movement, and a creative arts. There's also a complementary family guide that goes with it as well. And so these are the 8 different stories that we've selected to tie in with this year's theme. So what you can see is we've selected animals that fit in 8 different habitats. So we have the tundra, we have the pond, we have the rainforest, and the ocean. And on our website, you can see what each of the STEM challenges in. So in Cactus Hotel, they're going to learn how cactuses conserve water. In Not Norman, this habitat, we were thinking about pets and the home, kind of the home habitat. And this one is for youth to design a safe and sturdy pet carrier. And so these eight books are right here. And what you do to download to get the free guides is you simply click one of the red buttons. There's a couple of questions that we're going to have you answer, and then it will take you to a box where you're able to download and save them all on your computer. So let's say you really only want the big red barn. That's fine. When you answer our questions, you're going to be taken to a folder, and you might change your mind and think, oh, I'm going to download all of them just in case. So you don't have to click on every one individually to download and to get that resource. And so you might be wondering, what do they look like? They're very user-friendly. So I pulled up an example of our pond habitat. So our featured story was I Don't Want to Be a Frog. And this is a fun story between a father frog and a son frog, and wants to be anything but a frog, a cat, an owl, a pig, a rabbit, anything but a frog. And then at the end of the story realizes when a wolf appears that being a frog isn't so bad because wolves don't like things that are wet, slimy, and eat flies. So he decides it's not so bad to be a frog. But what we like here are the conversation starters that can be used. There's pre-reading, during reading, and after reading questions. And then on the front of each guide, you can see the STEM connection. All of the STEM connections are very simple and don't use a whole lot of supplies. So this one is, when we think about frogs, we think about frogs jumping. So we connected static electricity, and what they're going to do is learn about static electricity, have a balloon. They're going to rub their head on their balloon for 10 seconds, and there'll be some cutouts of little frogs, and they're going to see how static electricity attracts those frogs, and the frogs jump to the balloon. In this activity, I have found that tissue paper works really, really well. But when I do it with young children, we use construction paper, copy paper, and tissue paper, and we make a prediction beforehand. Which frogs do we think are going to jump into the pond first? Then on the back of all of our guides, you can see the 3 extensions. So we have our music and movement, our sensory, and then a creative arts. Down here is where we have our related readings. Tad is a really fun story about the life cycle, and it's about a tadpole who his life or her life cycle seems to be going a little bit slower than her friends. And there's a big fish called Glub, and they're all trying to stay safe by being as a large group so that Glub doesn't get them. A nonfiction book is Being Frog, and it's a beautiful book with illustrations, and it's really about taking pictures and seeing different frogs in their habitat. And then we also have just a little bit background about the program, and if you have specific questions about these guides, who to contact. And in just a minute, I'll show you what the 4-H, the K6 guides look like as well, and they have contacts as well on them. So if you would have a question, you could sure reach out and contact the author of those lessons. So as I scroll down on our website, I mentioned we piloted last year with the imagination guides. And so we archive them. So not only are there 8 storybook guides available to you, there's 16. So if you do any programming on fairy tales, we have 8 STEM activities and conversation starters connected to these 8 stories as well. If I go back, when you scroll down towards the bottom of this page, this is where the 4-H resources are stored that Jennifer was talking about. So you can see the 4 lessons are typed out here. There is the workshop, which is number 6. And then there's also a Clover Kid habitat workshop that's also included. So how do you get those? It's really the same process. You click on the download, you answer a couple of questions, and then you're able to save the document right to your computer. So I have that pulled up. And just so you know, it's about 150 pages of free resources, free content for you. And Jennifer mentioned earlier, customize it, use it, make it your own, adapt it into programs that you are already doing or curriculum that you're already doing.
Jackie,
So, yes.
can I just add one thing? Can you click on this little bookmark thing over on the left-hand side of that to show them that there's like a table of contents that's clickable? So they don't have to scroll through all one, like, so if you know you want the adaptations lesson plan, click on that. It's overwhelming to be like, it's 150 pages and I have to figure that out. But if you can at least get to the start of what you're interested in, I just wanted to share that because that is something that gets hidden a lot of times when we open up a PDF, but we purposely made this clickable that way for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jennifer, for sharing that. Yeah, because otherwise to scroll down and find out where you're going, that is a little bit more difficult. So remember that the bookmarks are there for you. You can see that there's other links inside the document as well that you can use. Let's see, if I go back to our website, the contact us, Sarah and I are primarily the authors for the early childhood component. But when we were back on looking at the actual lesson plans, please notice how you're able to see the lesson authors right along the side. So you could reach out to the lesson author if you have a specific question as well. So that's what we have for you this afternoon. We'd love to hear from you, your thoughts, what you think, how you might potentially utilize these resources, or any questions that you have for us.
Hi there. Thank you very much for this presentation. This is amazing, and it's kind of one of those things like I'm a little scared to see how deep this goes because it just looks so robust. I can't wait to use it and how I will use it. I'm the curriculum director and professional development director for Beyond School Bells, and we have dozens of partners, about 42 partners across the state that have multiple programs. And so I'm going to make sure that when I do my regular meetings with my partners that to my list of PD sites that I typically share, I'm going to add this list and make sure that they have this in their hands, literally. We also do a one pager that lists my favorite places like, well, Beyond School Bells, also U4Youth. So this stuff is going to be right on that page and downloadable for them to use as well. So kudos to you guys. This is amazing. I can't wait to talk about it. Wow. Wow.
That's super exciting for us to hear how you want to use that. And Leah, I'm super excited that you guys are going to use it as part of your STEAM program this summer there in Fremont. That'll be cool.
And so we would love to hear feedback from you. So if you're using it as a part of your summer program, or if you have sites that are using it, yeah, shoot us a message. If you have permission to take some pictures, even if children aren't in the pictures or the backs of them. We just love to see this program in action as well. So any feedback you can give us, we appreciate that, and we take it into consideration as we go and develop our next year's theme.
And the one thing I will say is in that initial survey to get your download link, like it's going to ask for email address. And what will happen is towards the end of summer, typically when we do this, we'll send an email and just to gather some impact. And those of you that know that it maybe isn't going to be implemented until fall, we'll send another one then. But that email is simply for us to just kind of do some follow-up, because sometimes we get some really good feedback. As Jackie said, we've been doing this now since 2014. So like, yeah, we've been doing it a while. And our first lessons, if you saw our first lessons, you guys would laugh us out of the room. I mean, they're rough. We have learned a lot, and every year we're like, let's tweak this, let's do that. So feedback is huge in every world, but really essential for us to make these the best resource that we can provide to those that we work with.
Any other feedback or questions that you might have?
We are always looking for high quality after school curriculum. So I am so excited to learn about this. I definitely spent some time looking through your lessons, and we'll figure out ways to share the information with those that weren't able to join the webinar today.
Thanks, Kim.
Did anyone else have any questions for Jennifer and Jackie? I want to thank you for all your work. You know, we're so lucky to have people like you in Nebraska that are committed to this work. Very talented.
Well, thank you for allowing us to be a part of the Stay Connected series that you have. And yes, all these resources are free, so feel free to share them with colleagues, with parents, neighbors, anyone. It's a free site, so you can use it on your social media pages as well.
And Jackie, if you don't mind, we would love to have you send the links to those sites that you shared today, and we can post those along with the recording of the webinar.
Great.
To make it easy for people to find. Thank you for doing that. Well, thank you so much. Thanks to everybody who joined. We know that you will really appreciate this curriculum for your after school and summer programs. So, Jennifer and Jackie, keep in touch as you develop new curriculum. We'd love to help you share that.
Wonderful. Like we said, we do it every year, so we just need to get it on our radar sooner to let you guys know that it's out there.
Anytime. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining this webinar. And I saw Sandra posted a link to our conference information as well. Registration's open and we are making decisions about the schedule and the sessions, and we are getting very excited. September 10th in Omaha. We haven't seen anybody in person, face to face for such a long time. So this will be really exciting. Okay, well, we'll see you on, okay, let me find my schedule here. Our next Stay Connected webinar is June 3rd, and the topic will be recruiting staff and keeping staff and the stay interview process that is used by Civic Nebraska. So that'll be very exciting, June 3rd at noon. So see you then.